Hi friends, I've got a hot drops guide for you today. Hot drops are perfect if you want to get a high kill or high damage game. In fact, if you want a really high kill game, hot drops really are your only option. A hot drop is where you land in a place that attracts a lot of players. This means typically leaving the dropship early. The opposite of this would be called a cold drop, where you leave the ship at the end of its path. The first thing you need to do is make sure you've picked the right hot drop. On this map, I've marked with a blue circle some of the best places to hot drop on each map. The key things we think about for a hot drop are where the good loot is and where there'll be lots of teams landing. This is obviously dependent on the ship's path to some degree, and that's why these blue areas are spread out across the map, so they should cover most dropship scenarios. If I had to pick one on each map, I would say Gauntlet is my favourite on King's Canyon, Fragment East is my favourite on World's Edge. A top tip here, Fragment East is actually a higher tier loot area than Fragment West, so you're more likely to get better loot in Fragment East. And on Olympus, my favourite hot drop location is Estates. I find no matter where the path of the dropship is, these places always seem to have people landing there. With hot drops, you want to pretty much drop straight down as hard and fast as possible. Spam your drop button before the timer hits 0 to make sure you're dropping straight away. Landing first is key in a hot drop. If you see another team landing before you, you've got two options. Option 1, all land together and rush to punch out that team that landed before you. This is because usually the team that lands first gets the weapons. Don't try and punch them out alone though. If your team bails, you should bail as well. Option 2 is to quickly switch your dive to another building but in the same area. Often I'll see people afraid to pull out and they tend to just land in that building and die straight away. Or they'll just go so far away that they lose the value of the hot drop. So try and land nearby if you're pulling out, perhaps a building nearby or some loot bins. As you drop, the jump master should be focusing on dropping accurately, while your teammates should be calling out all of the enemies that are landing nearby, and roughly how many teams are in the area. We do this a lot in the Soggy Squad, especially in Ranked. Make sure you land as a team as well. Try and be close together but not in exactly the same place. It's okay to loot the same building if it's a bigger building, but just pick different doors and different floors to enter in. A good example for a team landing together is in Gauntlet. You can have one person land in the main building, one person land to the loot bins on the right, and one person land to the loot bins on the left. And this allows you to stay close together as a team, but not right on top of each other. By the way, the reason you want to stick close together is because when you hot drop, you're likely to get other teams landing there, and if you stick together, you can support each other in fights. As you can see in this clip, we landed together as a team. The seer was in trouble, but because we landed together, I was able to give the seer some cover while he got to safety, and I even ended up getting a down from it. If we hadn't landed together, that seer would have got knocked, and maybe even thirsted. So this shows the value of landing together as a team. A tip for faster drops, use the bobbing technique when you drop to constantly move forward and down. You want to maintain the highest speed possible. Between 130 and 140 SPD is usually the best. Another tip for certain places is to actually try and bounce off the wall. It will help you fall faster than people dropping in. If you land in a bad place or misjudge your landing, grab what you can and try to group up with your team. Don't just run off because it's more than likely you'll run into another team. Don't expect to have amazing loot from the start when you're hot dropping. It's likely there'll be other teams there, so you'll have to make do with what you can get. Don't spend too long looting either. That's not the point of a hot drop. Once your squad has a weapon or two each, look to rotate around the area and start taking on teams. Do some scouting to see where the other teams are as you do this, and try to third party if you can. Holding the high ground in a hot drop is always the best idea. And my final piece of advice for hot dropping is to be bold. It's the best opportunity you'll get for a high kill game and to do lots of damage, so use this opportunity. If you're not confident on your ability, then leave the dropping till a little bit later and land in a quieter location, perhaps where there's only one or two other teams. You also want to know the layout as best as possible, so don't be afraid to keep dropping in the same place over and over again until you're familiar with the layout. This means every time you hot drop, you'll then know exactly where to go, how to drop there, and where the loot is spread out, and this will give you a big advantage over other teams. We do it in the Soggy Squad, especially in Ranked, and even pro teams do it in tournaments, for good reason. I hope you found this video useful. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you later.